You guys ready, Ikhwan? Jabba, you know how to hit the mic, the volume? The button? Jay, you can hit the power?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
بسم الله والحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending the salutations upon the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, and upon his family, his companions, and upon all those who follow upon his guidance into the establishment of the last day. To proceed, ya ikhwan, فَاللَّهُمَّ إِنَّا نَعُوذَ بِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ لَا يَنْفَعُ وَمِنْ قَلْبٍ لَا يَخْشَعُ وَمِنْ نَفْسٍ لَا تَشْبَعُ وَمِنْ دُعَاءٍ لَا يُسْمَعُ. Verily, Allah, we seek refuge with you from knowledge that has no benefit, and from a heart that has no fear, and from a soul that has no satisfaction, no contentment, and from a dua that goes unanswered, To proceed, ya ikhwan, فنواصل معكم في هذا اليوم المبارك عونا من الرحمن الرحيم. So we continue in this blessed and noble day of ours, seeking the aid and the assistance of our Lord, the most merciful and the most compassionate. مستفيدين متعلمين من اللغة العربية, as we continue to learn collectively, educating ourselves, deriving benefit from the Arabic language. فلماذا ندرس اللغة العربية? So our first question, ya ikhwan, is لماذا? Why do we study the Arabic language? لماذا ندرس العربية? Write this down, ya ikhwan. لماذا ندرس العربية? Why do we learn or do we study the Arabic language? لماذا ندرس العربية? Why do we study the Arabic language? Why do we learn or study the Arabic language? Man yujibu, who can answer?
So we can better understand the Quran and the Hadith.
So we can better understand the Quran and the Hadith. طيب. You have to pay lugha? I'm asking you, do you have to write that?
You have to write that? Okay.
No, do you? You can write it or you don't have to write it. It can be implied. I wrote it as implied. Nadrusu al-Arabiyyata, meaning the Arabic language. So here, my Arabic language will be implied. Aina. Allah aina. Fadl ya Sheikh Dawood. Fadl ya Sheikh.
So we can say what Allah, so we can know what Allah says.
So we learn the Arabic language so we can know what Allah says and the Prophet says. Good answer. Man akhar, someone else? Why do we learn the Arabic language? لعل هذا السؤال الأول لنا في أول الدرس. And perhaps this is the first question I asked you, brothers and sisters, when we first met some time ago. Why do we learn the Arabic language? To understand. هذا صحيح أيضا. That's also correct. فأعطيكم أحسن الجواب. So I'm going to give you the best answer. والله أعلم. We study Arabic to understand. We study Arabic to learn what Allah is saying. We study Arabic for all these reasons. صح. نعطيكم أحسن الجواب. So we're going to give you the best answer. أريدكم أن تحفظوه. And I want you to memorize this here. طيب. So you're going to write لنفهم in order to لنفهم القرآن والسنة فهما صحيحا. Pay attention there. فهما صحيحا. Write this down here. Why do we study the Arabic language? لنفهم, to understand. Only understand? No. We're going to add to that. To understand the Quran and the Sunnah only? No. To understand the Quran and Sunnah فهما صحيحا. And this is the important part. With the correct understanding. Memorize this, ikhwan. لنفهم القرآن والسنة فهما صحيحا. To understand the Quran and Sunnah with the correct understanding. You don't want to understand the correct. You don't want to understand the Sunnah and the Quran and the Sunnah your own way. A'udhu billah. You want to understand it فهما صحيحا, with the correct understanding. فما هو فهم الصحيح? Question number 2. So what is the correct understanding? If we study the Arabic to understand the Quran and Sunnah with the فهما صحيحا, with the correct understanding, then what is the correct understanding? Man yujibu, who can answer? Ahsant. The understanding that agrees with the companions were unanimous upon. Sometimes the companions differ in some small secondary issues. طيب. The things that they were مجتمعون عليه, that they were unanimous upon. That's the correct understanding. So we study the Arabic language to understand the Quran and Sunnah فهما صحيحا. So we're going to write that down. In order for us to understand the Quran and Sunnah, don't stop there like most people, ya ikhwan, with the correct understanding. This is the important part. You don't want to understand the Quran and Sunnah my own way, your own way. La. With the correct understanding. The understanding that agrees with what the companions understood. This is what's correct. If your understanding contradicts the understanding of the companions, then we're wrong and they're right. Everyone says Quran and Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah. Everyone says that. Every methodology, every jama'ah, every hizb, every group, every denomination, every party, they say Quran and Sunnah. Even the Nation of Islam, my Abi, he used to say Quran and Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah. Even the Christians and Jews, they believe their upon was correct. Everybody believes what their upon is correct, ya akhwan. But in our religion, there's a ibrah. There's a test, there's a burden, there's a litmus test. And that's the Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the companions. So why do we understand the Quran? Why do we study the Arabic language? لِنَفْهَمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَسُنَّةَ فَهْمًا صَحِيحًا. طيب, let's continue يا إخوان. تعلمنا ما معنى الجمع. We learned in the previous lessons what's the meaning of the word al-jam'. What's the meaning of the word al-jam'? Al-jam'. This question is for one of our sisters. Al-jam'. What does the word al-jam' mean? I sent 3 or more. 3 or more. الذي يدل على 3 فأكثر. That which points to 3 or more. If it points to 3 or more, it's the plural. Al-jam'. 3 or more. وتعلمنا كلمة المثنى. And we also learned previously the meaning of the word al-muthanna. This question for our beloved brother Abdullah. ما معنى المثنى? What does it mean, مثنى? ما معنى? What does it mean? The dual translation. Give us the meaning. That which points to what? Accent. That which points to two or more. Two or more. المثنى عفوا يا اخوان. That which points to two. الجمع ما يدل على ثلاثة فأكثر. The مثنى ما دل على اثنين. ما دل على اثنين. I think we gave an easy definition. That which points to two. على شيئين. No. على شيئين. If it points to two, it's the مثنى. If it points to two, it's the مثنى. ما دل على شيئين. That which points to two. That which points to two. If it points to two, it's the مثنى. If it points to more than two, it's the جمع.
So can you say more than one? المثنى?
More than one could be both. My brother asked a good question. Can we say that which points to more than one? And that will cover two things. The مثنى and the جمع. So if you want specifically, you want the مثنى is only going to be ما دل على شيئين. Whatever points to two. The جمع, you can say that which points to more than two. You can say that. Or you can say three or more. Right. Afan. Gosh. English, go to English. What points to two? That which points to two. طيب فعندنا الجمع. So now we have the plural. ما دل على ثلاثة فأكثر. That which points to three or more. Or you can say that which points to more than two. Same thing. وعندنا مثنى. Now we have the dual. ما دل على شيئين. That which points to two. طيب وآخر واحد. And the last one we have. The last we have. تفضل شيء. The last we have is. Pronounce it again. Raise your voice slightly. مفرد. مفرد. What's the mufrad? Sheikh Daud. Try it again. Mufrad. أحسنت أحسنت. بارك الله فيكم جميعا. May Allah bless you all. طيب let's continue يا إخوان. أخذنا بعض الواجبات. We did some of the homework. How many sentences we did, Sheikh Shamsuddin? 2. In the last lesson. I think we stopped at number 3. The boy arrived. No, we stopped at number 2. He wrote 2 easy books for the boy. Remember, ya ikhwan, this book here is one of the best books for vocabulary. Your first 2 years of Arabic, no matter what anyone tells you, أهم شيء حفظ الكلمات. The most important thing is memorizing the vocabulary. Your first 2 years of Arabic, that's all you need. If you get anything outside of that, that's a blessing. The most thing you need is حفظ الكلمات, memorizing vocabulary. التعريفات مهم ولكن ليست مهما جدا. Learning definitions are important, but not that important your first 2 years, especially your first year. طيب, if you have a good memory, if you comprehend some things well, Allahu Akbar. But the first 2 years, you just want to focus on vocab, to learn how to speak. When you read the Quran, to derive the meaning of the words Allah Ta'ala is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's one of the reasons we chose this book. And one book you can memorize, I believe the author says 4,000 words or something like that. And one book, I believe he said 4,200 or 2,400. At any rate, another gem of this book here is that it teaches you how to become a proficient translator. So one of the ways, it only has 2 exercises. The whole book is built upon 2 exercises. Translate these 20 Arabic sentences to English. Translate these 20 English sentences to Arabic. Most students of knowledge don't finish this book. I've taught this book many times, or a few times, and only had one group that finished it. This book is like Kitab al-Asasi. or a lot of those big books like Nahw Wadih, most students don't complete.
Why?
I believe laziness. Also, some of us, especially in the West, we get to a certain point in Arabic and then we say, that's all I need. So we stop. I'm good. Like most of us, as I mentioned, if you brothers don't continue, when we get to the verbs. A lot of students, when they get to verbs, stop. Verbs are the most difficult in Arabic. Nouns are easy, particles are easy, verbs are difficult. So some brothers, I know students that studied in Medina and they say, that's all I need. You're just getting started. That's just your training wheels now. You're just becoming a student of Arabic. Like these books here, they're to get us started. When you get into grammar and sarf and balagha, when you start learning the Quran and the Sunnah from Arabic, that's the best way to learn Arabic. Not these programs. These programs get us started. The best way that you can learn the surah and then study the Arabic from the surah. You learn the hadith and you derive the Arabic from the hadith. That's the best way to learn. The best way. But many of us are weak in Arabic, weak in Quran, weak in hadith, so we never get to that level. But the best way is to derive the Arabic from the Quran and Sunnah.
Best speech.
The best speech, yeah. طيب, who can read number 3? And then, how did you translate it? With a loud voice. Number 3. We're on exercise number 8, page number 49. So we're at the middle of 49. Page number 49. Exercise number 8. Who can read number 3 with a loud voice? Abdul Malik, tfadal.
The bread arrived from the baker yesterday.
The bread arrived from the baker yesterday. طيب, من ترجمها? Who translated it? Besides our sisters? The bread arrived from the baker yesterday. Sheikh Dawood, tfadal. Who translated it? Any of our brothers got to number 3?
I thought we went past that.
I think one of the sisters, she asked a question about number 5 or something like that. But as a group, we only did the first 2. And let's make it bigger. One more time. Sheikh Abdullah. Al-Khubzu. Should be Arabic. No. من الخباز أمس. الخبز وصل من الخباز أمس. Let's add our vowels. الخبز وصل من الخباز أمس. الخبز وصل من الخباز أمس. طيب, you can say that. That's a perfect sentence يا إخوان. The bread arrived from the baker yesterday. الخبز وصل من الخباز أمس. طيب, that's 100%, 100%. The bread arrived from the baker yesterday. الخباز. طيب, here we'll give you a benefit. This sentence is correct. الخبز وصل. You can also say وصل الخبز. You can start off with the verb وصل الخبز. So both is correct. The second way is the majority. Most of the Arab, they begin with the verb and then the fa'il. Most of the time, you're going to find verb, then the doer. Verb, then the doer. That's most of the time in the Arabic language. However, it's not a condition. Sometimes you find the mubtada', like our beloved brother Abdullah mentioned, and then the verb coming next. Now the tricky part here, in our first sentence, al-khubzu wasala. Now, for stickler translations, al-khubzu wasala. تعلمنا قبل معنى الفاعل. In the last month or so, we learned this verb here, this word here, al-fa'il. We asked you to write this word 10 times. Al-fa'il, the doer. The doer. Al-fa'il. وتعلمنا بعض القواعد التي تتعلق بالفاعل. And we mentioned some principles connected to the doer. We gave you 2 ways to find out who is the doer or what is the doer. Two principles. Who remembers?
Yeah, the verb becomes before.
Ahsan. The first is al-fa'il ja'a ba'da al-fi'l. First benefit is that the doer ja'a ba'da al-fi'l. Write this down. The verb comes before the doer. If you memorize this, you will always be able to identify the doer. Ja'a ba'da al-fi'l. The doer comes after the verb. Memorize that, ya akhwan. The doer, Father Sheikh.
So the doer, that's actually the object.
That's the object, ahsant, yep, correct. Al-fa'il, the doer of the verb. When does he come? Before the verb? No. The doer is always going to come after the verb. That's the principle. Huh? What do you mean?
The doer is the one that's doing the action. It's not the object. The object is what falls apart.
So you guys are bringing some technical English.
Not actually,
Like, he said the object? Like, go back, ya ikhwan. You guys are better with the technical collegiate translations than me. I don't use them that much, ya ikhwan. At any rate, like, go back to Sheikh Al-Dawud's first point. He called it the object. Okay. You could call it that, but that could be argued. That's why I'm not a stickler for those translations, ya ikhwan. Because sometimes, what are you talking about? Object of what? Sometimes that could be, they do translate, I believe, the mubtada as the object. I don't agree with that translation, but I see their point. Sheikh Dawood, I believe, was saying the object. Sheikh Abdullah, I believe, is talking about the maf'ulun bi. The maf'ulun bi, technically they call that the passive particle, which you have to understand what they're saying too. So all those fancy words, they sound awesome. MashaAllah Akbar. But then someone is going to be raising his hands like, yeah, akhi, what does that mean? Unless he went a nice level in English. When I hear passive particle, I don't know what you're talking about. When I hear object, because I didn't study that in English. So to me, Arabic is easier here. So I'll let you guys argue your own technical Arabic English points. However, what I would say, no, let's break it down, ya ikhwan. It depends on what you mean when you say object. I'm not saying that. If you say the doer is the object, I may differ there. The doer, what I'm going to say, he is the one that what? Fa'al al-fi'l. It's sometimes easy in Arabic, in my opinion. Now you may call this the object, maybe in your English. I'm not arguing that. But as long as your meaning is exact. Whatever you want to call it, that's not my... This is a mosque. This is a musalla. Whatever you want to call it that. That's not my argument. What are you saying when you say a mosque? If your meaning is correct, you can call it a mosque. What are you saying when you say something is a musalla? If your meaning is correct from Quran and Sunnah, Allahu Akbar. If your meaning is not correct, now we can argue. That's my point.
Traditionally, we kind of talk that the fire is separate from the object.
Okay. See, that's another point. Like some of those, and the Sheikh has more knowledge than me, and in the English point, Sheikh Shamsuddin also.
Yeah.
A lot of the technical translations, ya ikhwan, you can argue by meaning. Continue, Sheikh. You learned that what?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's not going to be the object as we know it.
Okay.
That's receiving the action.
The thing that's receiving action. And then others call it the passive particle. And so it kind of depends. So what I would say, I'll give you what I learned. Whatever you want to call whatever you want, go to the next step. What do you mean when you say that? For example, the fa'il, what is the fa'il? He is alladhi fa'ala al-fi'l. Now whatever you want to call this after that, as long as you mean this, I'm with you. He is the one that what? Did the action. Now if you want to call him the object, if that's what you mean, Allahu Akbar. If you want to call him the particle, if that's what you mean, Allahu Akbar. If your meaning is changing, now I'm different with you. So it's not about what you call it. She calls herself a man because she did the operation. That's not my argument. Are you a man? No. Now you're Bruce. I'm not calling you Bruce, but that's what you want to call yourself. No problem. In your mind, you're a man now. Cool. As far as the meaning of a man, if you fit that, if you don't, you're not a man. So the fa'il is what? To make it easy, ikhwan, he is alladhi fa'ala al-fi'l. He is the one that did the action. To make it easy. Fa'ala al-fi'l. He did the action. The doer of the action. He is the one that did the action. The one. So I try to make it easy. When I first started learning English, I didn't know what you're saying. Especially when you get to Arabic, just teach me the meaning of it. Now, it becomes a lot more clear, in my humble opinion. Father Sheikh, the one who?
So after clarifying that, now
The one
you
who
said, if I was the one who did the action,
Good.
okay, who is the subject of the action?
Right, now, see that's another, see how the Sheikh broke that down? That's why it becomes tricky, ikhwan. Right, we'll give you an easy one for the maf'ulun bi also. I have many, ikhwan, by Allah's mercy. Right, the fa'il, understand this. Whatever you want to call him. In Arabic, call him the fa'il. The meaning of the fa'il, alladhi fa'ala al-fi'l. What some scholars say, or Shaykh Abu Fida used to say, alladhi qama bil-fi'l. The one who he did the action, but he used a different verb. Qama bi. Qama bi means to do. I use fa'ala, he used qama bi. The one who did the action. There's a verb, whoever fa'ala bi, or qama bi, he's the fa'il. Whoever did that action. Salla Muhammad. Muhammad prayed. How do you know he prayed? There's some signs to let you know. Muhammad is the one who did the action of prayer. Easy. If you want to call that the object, I'm not arguing that. Just focus on the meaning of it. Back to the next point Sheikh Dawo mentions. The maf'ulun bi. Some translators, they say this is the, what you say, Sheikh? The object of the verb. The one who receives the action. I've also mentioned I saw some translators, they say the passive particle or something like that. They have many technical words. That's not my point. My point is, what do you mean? So the maf'ulun bihi, al-maf'ulu bihi. This is the Arabic term. Another benefit, ya ikhwan, focus on the Arabic first. And then, when you're translating it, no problem. But you know the term. So the maf'ulun bi, one of the easiest definitions is going to be al-ismu al-mansubu, has to be mansub, alladhi waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. So this one is kind of lengthy. The maf'ulun bi, what is he? He is the accusative noun, meaning the noun that ends in a fatha, or what takes the place of fatha, that the action of the verb fell upon. Easy. وقع عليه الفعل. Right, the accusative noun that the action of the verb fell on. So now we have three things. Now remember, ya ikhwan, none of this is important right now. You got it, Sheikh? Tell me when you get done. None of this is important. If you get it, Allahu Akbar. Let's say someone says, man, I didn't get those two definitions today. It's not going to harm him. Say all of you walk out today, I got it, I got it, I got it. That's Allahu Akbar. You guys are going to be future imams. No problem. Say someone says, that was over my head today. That's not going to harm him or her. So let's go step by step. First, write down a definition. So this is the maf'ulun bi. Al-ismu al-mansubu alladhi waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. The accusative noun that the action of the verb fell on. Right? And then we're going to give an example. The al-ism al-mansub has to be accusative. The maf'ulun bi is always mansub. Always. Alladhi waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. That which the verb fell on. So he's not the doer of the verb. No. Whatever was done, it was done to him. That's the maf'ulun bih. Our Shaykh says the receiver. That's a good one. The receiver of the action of the verb. I like that. That's awesome. The one that the action received, or he's the noun that receives the action of the verb. Alhamdulillah. So let me know what you have to say, Ikhwan. So you're going to write in English the accusative noun, or the noun that ends in fatha, that the action of the verb falls on or fell on. Where's Yusuf today, Ikhwan? When I don't hear a lot of questions, I know Yusuf's not here. I'm Mr. Yusuf, yeah, Ikhwan. Give him our salams when y'all see him, inshallah. Oh, he's moving? He's moving? Just take. Oh, okay. Alright, let's give an example, ya ikhwan. Alright, an example, we can use number 3. The bread arrived from the baker. Alright. Sentence number 3. The first part. Wasala al-khubzu. Alright. Abdul Malik, what does wasala mean?
To arrive.
MashaAllah, sent to arrive. طيب, wasala means to arrive. Wasala. Wasala, to arrive, or he arrived. طيب, who arrived? Who did the arriving? Al-khubz, the bread. How do you know?
Because the verb, it follows the verb.
How do you know it's the fa'il? It comes after the verb, that's the first part. And the second part?
It's the action. Is the part.
2 things. If you memorize this, you can always, nobody can trick you. Memorize these 2 things, ya ikhwan. جاء بعد الفعل. Number 1, it comes after the verb. It's always going to come after the verb. If we write, let's take how Abdullah translated it. Al-khubzu wasala. Now this is a little bit next year. This is just an example. Al-khubzu wasala. But what's the difference here? Not in the translation, in the structure.
In the structure, the noun is before the verb.
Accent. But in our first sentence, wasala comes first. Second sentence, wasala comes second. If you memorize the fa'il ja'a ba'da al-fi'l, that the doer always comes after the verb, then in the second sentence, al-khubzu cannot be the doer. Why? That's it.
No, not khubzu.
The bread.
How is the bread the doer?
In the second one, he's not the doer.
Right.
In the first one, he is.
First one. What is the bread? What is the bread doing? The bread is being brought, arriving.
That's
The
actually
doer would be the baker.
close. If you say someone brought the bread, yes, but that's not what we said. We said the bread came,
arrived.
the bread arrived. So in Arabic, the action, the bread did the action. Now in English, you may say, well, bread can't do action. This is linguistic. There's not something that is tangible or abstract, not like that.
Okay.
We're talking a certain way that a word has to have a certain structure.
Exactly.
In order for it to
Exactly.
have a certain meaning.
So remember, ya ikhwan,
You know this and for it to mean that.
that's true, I'm with you.
So in here, it's understood
That's what
that
he's saying.
the baker brought it, but we don't have to actually mention the baker.
Someone brought it.
Right.
You don't know
someone
who.
brought it, but
It could've-
that's how we understand it.
Somebody brought the bread. No
Right.
problem.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter who brought it. But in Arabic, you say what's said.
Right.
In English, you're gonna say, hey, the bread don't got no legs. The bread, how did the bread come? Someone brought the bread. That's not the point. That's correct. The Arabs and their language, it's not that technical. Wasal al-khubz, the bread came. Yes, someone brought the bread. That's not what was said. Right? So here, the action is wasala, to arrive. Who did the arriving, or what did the arriving? The bread. Two proofs. First proof, Sheikh Dawood. First proof. Sheikh said, why you calling me Ikhwan? Tayyip, one of our sisters. First point, how do you know that the bread did it? Comes after the verb. That's it. Our second sister, how do you know the bread did it? It comes after the action. Something about the shape of the word al-khubzu. It ends in what? Ends in dhamma. If you memorize these two small points, you can always identify the doer. It's always going to end in dhamma or what takes the place of dhamma, and it's always going to come after the verb. طيب. Why did we say all of that? In the second sentence, al-khubzu wasala. The bread arrived. طيب. Technically, the bread, it arrived. طيب. The verb is wasala. Khubz does not come after wasala. So it's impossible for the bread to be the doer. So what's the doer on this second one? It is. You can't see it. The baker, close. What's mentioned? The bread. There's something else, but you gotta look deep. Hey, I sense. It's mustatiran. You can't see it. It's hidden. Remember, ya ikhwan, wasala in itself has a doer. That's why I say when you translate it two ways. To arrive or he arrived. Where is the he? It's inside, it's already there. So this would be he arrived. You can't see the he. Where did you get huwa? It means wasala huwa. So this is the doer. It means wasala huwa. He arrived. But where is this huwa? It's dakhil al-fi'l. Huwa mustatiran. Al-fi'lu yasturuhu. The verb is covering him up. He's there. You know hide and go seek? You ever played that? That was my favorite game, Ikhwan. So you're hiding right in front of the person. But the darkness, he can't see you. The shade of the curtain is covering you. Hey, where's the brother? You're right there. But they can't see you. Something is covering the huwa, and that's the verb. So now, al-khubzu wasala. The doer in the second sentence is huwa. Ahsant. You just can't see the huwa. So here the doer is huwa. So if you're a great translator, may Allah make us all proficient on our translations, you would say the bread, it arrived. That's what you would say in this second one. To be exact, you would say you can't say the bread arrived. You can't say that. That's not what the language said. You would say the bread, it arrived. And this happens a lot in the Quran. I gave you a benefit last time, ya ikhwan, about in the khutbah tahajjud. You see many imams, and I forgive all of our beloved imams, many translators, they make an error in the khutbah tahajjud. And they make a grammatical error. You see many of our beloved brothers, they say, when they translate, they say, فَمَنْ what's the verb, ya ikhwan? فَمَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. They say, فَمَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ مَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ. And then they say the second part, وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ. Now pay attention here. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. The translation, they say, whoever Allah guides, that's correct. فَمَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ. Then there's none that can misguide him. Whoever Allah guides, فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ. There's no one that can misguide him or mislead him. Correct. The second part is when they make it incorrect. And whoever he misguides, and they say, and whoever Allah misguides. That's not what was said. The Prophet never said that. In the first verb, Allah is mentioned. Allah is the doer. And the second, where is Allah mentioned? He's not mentioned. So it's mustatiran. So you have to say, and whoever he. Two different meanings, and this goes back to Aqidah. The evil is never attributed to Allah, ever. From the Hadith of Ali, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. And evil, O Allah, is not attributed to you. Yes, from the qadr is khayran wa sharran. From the qadr is that which is good, that which is evil. Yes. You don't attribute evil to Allah. Two different things. Evil and good are from the qadr. Sometimes what you think is evil, in reality is good. You get sick, sickness to most of us is evil. No, you can get your sins forgiven. You can become purified. You can become closer to Allah. I remember when I had COVID. I think I had it twice actually. But when I had it the one time, and you're, oh, I can't do this, you're sad, I can't do that, I'm so hurt, I'm in pain, and this and this and this. Religiously, if you don't complain, you can leave this test, all your sins can be forgiven. From getting sick. So the Muslim is not mad he got sick. He is grateful. He says, Alhamdulillah li hadha al-marad. He says, all praise belong to Allah, the one who has given me this test. If he's patient, if he's not complaining, the wife is sick, but she's complaining and complaining and complaining. Why me? Why me? Why me? That's different. She's sabiran. She's patient. And she's enduring. And she knows this is from the qadr of Allah upon her. There's no way she can escape it. Katabahu Allah ta'ala laha. Allah wrote this for her. There's no way around it.